With that, we'll call to order the City Council meeting for Monday, July 9th, 2018. And we're honored to have the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 1621 here to lead us in the pledge. Or I should say veteran. Welcome, thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. In the case of an emergency, we request that you exit this room and move toward the main entranceway and exit the building and walk to the empty lot on the south side of the fire station. Roll call, please.
All council members are present.
Thank you. Our first item is consideration and action on a proposed resolution in commendation of the many individuals and many organizations involved in a very successful 2018 Tour of America's Dairyland Janesville Town Square Grand Prix. It's file resolution number 2018-1564. We have a reading of the resolution.
File resolution number 2018-1564, a resolution in commendation of the many individuals and organizations involved in the 2018 Tour of America's Dairyland Janesville Town Square Grand Prix. Whereas on Tuesday, June 26, 2018, the 10th annual Tour of America's Dairyland bike race made its first stop in Janesville. And whereas the series of races brought 489 bicyclists, over 1,000 spectators, and 125 volunteers to downtown Janesville. And whereas this major community event had a significant economic impact on Janesville and nurtured a sense of community in the downtown. And whereas without the many event organizers, sponsors, and supporting organizations and individuals, this major and positive event would not have been successful. And whereas it is desired that such efforts be commended by the City of Janesville. And whereas the contributing individuals and organizations include Mike Bolster, Paul Murphy, John Westfall, Blaine's Farm and Fleet, Angus Young Associates, Bob Arndt and Arndt Farms, Associated Collectors, attorneys Steve Kaya and Joe Chappelle, Jill and Gino Ayers, Baird Investments, Big Radio, Blackhawk Bank, Blackhawk Community Credit Union, Bliss Communications, BMO Harris Bank, Bodacious Shops, Brennan Style Law Firm, Centerway Floral, City Cab Car Star, City of Janesville, Commercial Property Group, Culligan Water, Culver's, DeGarmo Plumbing, Downtown Janesville Incorporated, E&D Waterworks, Echo Incorporated, Educators Credit Union, Evonik Corporation, Farmers Insurance, Brad Perkins, Foremost Media, Forward Janesville Incorporated, Gifts Men's Shelter, Globalcom Technologies, Derek Green, Harris Ace Hardware, Hesser Toyota, Allison Hokinson, Huntington Place, Icon Transportation Service Incorporated, Impact Confections, Janesville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, Janesville Velo Club, Jack's Graphics, Johnson Ryan Properties, J.P. Cullen Construction, Karen Super Deli, Land Title and Closing Services, The Looking Glass, Lycon Incorporated, Lucy Newell Anderson, McGuire Mears and Associates, Mercy Health, Michael Bolster Architecture, Michael Cycles, Mid-States Concrete, Paul and Julie Murphy, Nolan and Mowat Law Firm, Paul Chiropractic of River's Edge, Phones Plus, Pregnancy Helpline, Premier Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery, Project 1649, Raven's Wish Gallery, Rhyme Business Products, Rhyme IT Services, Ryan Incorporated Central, Matt and Molly Ryan, Tobin and Oakley Ryan, Sarah Investment and Real Estate, SASID, Frank Scott, Syker Furniture and Bedding, SSM Health Cancer Care, SSM Health Pediatrics, SSM Health Sports Medicine, SSM Health Women's Health Center, Stifle, the Nemo Group, Studio 107, The Venue, Voight Music, Westfall and Company Incorporated, Wisconsin River Bank. And whereas individuals and businesses that had their typical routines interrupted in support of this community event should also be commended. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Janesville to recognize the many individuals and organizations involved in the 2018 Tour of America's Dairyland Janesville Town Square Grand Prix.
Thank you. I would move to adopt fire resolution number 2018-1564.
Second.
I have a motion by Council Member Markline, seconded by Council Member Conley to approve. Any discussion?
I think the resolution said it all, but I also want to mention that the city manager's office, the fire department, the police department, and even the transit system were involved in making that a successful day. And I want to thank them as well.
Thank you. With that in mind, please vote. Vote yes. Hands up would be in recognition of yes. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. And we've got honored to have with us tonight Paul Murphy, Mike Bolster, and Nicole Kilmer of Blaine Supply Company here to accept some resolutions and possibly say a word. Step forward. Yep.
Please do.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. This was not necessary, but I think from the resolution, just hearing all the people that participated, this was Janesville. This wasn't Paul Murphy or John Westfall, Mike Bolster, or Nicole Kilmer with Blaine's Farm and Fleet. This was Janesville. And council, you kept your word. You're behind the Arise program, you're behind the downtown development, and you wanted a signature event. We brought a signature event, and the city administration that you people oversee on a regular basis knocked it out of the park. Between the Downtown Janesville Inc., Janesville Convention and Visitors Bureau, Forward Janesville, the fire, the police, the city administration, unbelievable. And I think the real key too is that the community of Janesville really has to understand that between the police and fire, they put a lot of time and effort, and I think Honoree Brizek hit the nail on the head back in maybe February when she said, we're going to compromise convenience for public safety. So the people that might have been convenienced, it was for the public safety of Janesville. And that's what the city administration really focused on. And John Westfall said, it's our hometown, it's our downtown, it's our passion. So that's what our mission statement was. The city of Janesville took the public safety of Janesville first for the inconvenience of some parking that day. So thank you so much. I hope that what the Rock Aqua Jays does to the water show ski in the state, the nation, and the world, someday Janesville could be that for the criterium racing. So thank you so much. It's been a great ride. Thanks.
Thank you. Look forward to next year. Next item, public comments on items on the agenda not requiring a public hearing and on matters which can be affected by council action. Once again, you have 4 minutes to make your comments. Please state your name and address for the record. And Wisconsin open meeting law limits the city council's ability to respond to speakers.
Renee Bliss.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As he mentioned, he kind of took that for me. My name is Renee Bliss. I'm a long-time Janesville resident, graduate of Janesville Craig. I'm just coming here actually with I guess you could say a partner of mine, we're coming here to kind of start an open discussion and an opportunity to adjust a city ordinance regarding, as they call it, and I'm going to use the quote, wild and exotic animals. I have been a long time owner, breeder, researcher of various reptiles and amphibians. I am friends with several of the workers at the local pet stores, and because they know my background, because they know that I have a lot of knowledge in that, they call me and contact me. We have families in the city that are purchasing animals online. They get them. They have no idea how to take care of them, so they let them go out in the wild, which means we have wild and exotic animals running free in the city of Janesville because of lack of education, because they thought it looked cool, whatever the case is. I had been doing some research on area ordinances, and I know that Madison, actually not too far from here, has more of a broader, open-minded allowance for certain animals. I also work a lot with autistic families in the area, and I know that there is research upon research regarding how certain animals and pets can be therapeutic. I know that for my own children, in the past, certain reptiles that we have owned have been just that for my autistic kids. I also know several families who also have experienced that. I have offered actually to go to the school board to do some educational events for the children at the schools because, you know, children love to learn, they love animals. I would rather have them educated and knowledgeable versus a parent sees something in a backyard and panics, because the Janesville Police Department will get phone calls, Humane Society might get phone calls. I've contacted the Humane Society also. They do not have anybody on board that knows anything about reptiles. So if you get a family that calls and says, hey, look, we bought this scorpion, we don't know how to take care of it, what do? They tell them to call the pet store. You have people at the 3 pet stores that don't have knowledge with reptiles, so they call me. So it's kind of a big, huge circle. And even though, yes, I know what to do with them, I know how to care for them, I know how to rehabilitate them, Janesville City ordinance, because I'm a Janesville resident, would get me in trouble for taking them in versus just letting them go out in the backyard. I don't know if there's a permit that I could possibly get to at least be able to prevent this from happening. I would love to be able to go into local schools. I know that Madison Area Herpetological Society would be more than willing to come down and do some educational events, but unfortunately, I was even told from principals that they would not allow that here because of the city ordinance. They're not allowed in the city. So it's kind of cutting off educational opportunities, as well as we have uneducated owners in the city who are just letting their animals go. The ordinance is understandable because they're trying to prevent a panic in the city. They're trying to prevent people from getting hurt, and I understand that because I've gotten hurt from my pets before, but I would rather educate them. I would rather get the knowledge out there. I would rather, if a family purchases something online or from PetSmart or Petland who sells them, if they can't handle taking care of them versus letting them go out in the backyard, give them to someone who knows how to handle them and then get them to a family outside of the area who obviously has experience. I don't want to see a child be playing out in the backyard, walk up to a scorpion that's been let go, not knowing how to handle it, and then they get hurt. They're not all venomous, but it's still the fact of a child getting hurt. I'm a mom, I know how that goes. So I don't know what our options are as far as allowing that, whether like I said, I have to get a permit, whether we have to do some further meetings with even Madison Area Herpetological Society, or what can be done, because I'm getting phone calls as we speak from families and from pet stores, because the Humane Society doesn't know what to do with them. So I wanted to come and at least kind of get the ball rolling to find out what can possibly be done to avoid getting in trouble or having the cops at my door or having to pay fines, because I'm actually trying to prevent worse things from happening. Thank you.
First off, your address for the record.
I live at 1612 Randolph in Janesville.
Good, and if you can get your contact information to Ryan here on the end. you get
Okay.
it to the appropriate staff person, and they can contact you.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Rebecca Wyman.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Wyman. I'm here representing the Madison Area Herpetological Society. I don't actually live in Janesville. The Madison Area Herpetological Society is a nonprofit, registered federally and with Wisconsin. And we are dedicated to educating people about reptiles and amphibians. And I was asked to come here today to kind of give you guys some more information about reptiles and kind of the ordinance. The ordinance that's in place right now is really extremely restrictive. Right now, someone could go up to Madison, they could be living up in Madison, they could have 3-foot ball python, completely harmless animal. But because they have that, they can't move to Janesville. Because the Janesville city ordinance would tell them that they can't have their 3-foot pet that isn't gonna hurt anybody. It lives in a cage, it's not gonna get out. One thing that's kind of important to know about all these exotic animals is they can't survive in Wisconsin. And even if someone is letting their scorpions go, the chance of them surviving more than a few days within our Wisconsin weather, outside of the random heat waves we have, is very slim. They're definitely not going to survive our winter because they're not conditioned to, they don't hibernate. They're not like our native animals that know, hey, it's fall, we got to go hibernate. So concerns about people letting them go, I haven't heard anything personally, and we have people who, part of our board watches for things like that so that we can get in case someone, releases a snake, we'll go out and we'll try and find it. And we've never had that happen here. We've had reports, I want to say it was, I can't remember exactly what it was. Someone reported seeing like a 15-foot boa, and it turned out to be a 5-foot bull snake. And part of that comes down to education, which is a lot of what we do. We go out and we bring examples of native species as well as exotic species that are really common for people to keep as pets. For example, that ball python I mentioned that, again, gets this big. Or a corn snake, again, this big. But the current ordinance prevents people from having these pets here. And they're really great pets to have. They're, if you have someone who's a child that's actually allergic to dander, pet dander, and they want to still have a pet because it gives them that awesome interaction of being able to own an animal. Reptiles are a great substitute for that because while the animal won't love you like a dog does, you can still love it. Some of our members have animals that they're extremely attached to. I know someone who lives up in Madison who's actually going to be registering their crested gecko as an emotional support animal because it gives them that stability that they need. There's a lot of benefits to having reptiles, and I'm not proposing that you change the ordinance to allow people to have 10-foot crocodiles or 15-foot snakes. Madison has a 10-foot rule. They don't allow crocodilians. They don't allow venomous. It's a lot more reasonable, and it keeps the ordinance open so people can legally have pets or, be able to move from Madison to Janesville without having to get rid of a cherished pet. And I did bring business cards with me, and I'd be happy to talk with any of you individually, or our events coordinator or our president of the organization are far more knowledgeable about different ordinances. I believe Dane County actually put it into it, or their part of their exotic ordinance was actually drafted by our events coordinator. And we have worked with them in the past. So that's kind of all I have to say. I don't know where you...
And give those to the clerk, and then while you're there, give them your contact information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I got you on wall.
Sorry.
Ryan, your contact information.
Thank you.
Ty Bollerud.
Take one, pass her on, down, that one there. Thanks.
Looks like I've been replaced.
Hi, Tab Over 419 South Walnut Street, Janesville. Water dams, was it 1505? Title 16 Water Reclamation and Reuse Program for dams and stuff. Since 2015, 9 million, at the federal government in 2017, $37 million. It's multiple about 6 times. So if there was no money to fix the dam in 16, that's because it was less than 20% of what money goes out there today. I take that way all the time. 6 inches will drop 2 bays, not 1. And I don't know how DNR can say less water is good. The federal government doesn't say that. When they pond stuff, usually it's for good. So the idea that somebody can do that. This other is about housing. We advertise housing for other people, call it fair housing laws, like competition. This is like an overreaching district. I'll be happy to hand it out. Refuse to negotiate for housing. That's a right. At most housing, anybody that says fair housing or claims fair housing, Janesville doesn't claim fair housing, by the way. Neighborhood services, we don't claim. I'll be more than happy. Here's a copy. If you want to take a look, that's the competition. That's 18 counties. We don't claim fair housing. However, though, we do make the neighborhood and community services like we do have fair housing with family income, 80%, all sorts of automatic guidelines. Give you a there's a copy of that. The CDBG action plan, that one ran out of funds in 2012, or 2013 neighborhood stabilization plan. We're still filing. The federal government can't hear that because they retired out that trust fund in 2011. We're still hard at it. Here's a copy of the 2017 neighborhood stabilization plan out of Janesville, Wisconsin Neighborhood Services. If you can turn to, I think I got you a copy with Tom Clipper's signature. You can see where he has discriminated twice in one letter. First, by not selling permits at 419 South Walnut Street, my house, and then also, if I didn't have money, I don't know if he's claiming that a citizen can get fair housing in Janesville as far as money goes, but that's just not the case in Janesville. We don't advertise fair housing anywhere. We suggest that there's fair housing, but in no way do we have fair housing in Janesville. You can see it in other cities that fix stuff up. They don't have a codes department and a neighborhood service department. What do you call that? Inspections. They don't have orders like judge, jury, and executioner. That doesn't happen. In Janesville, we have that. That's why we don't have fair housing. We can't possibly get fair housing banking money for home improvement as long as we continue them actions. One doesn't go without the other. That's guaranteed. That Tom Clipper, where he twice discriminated against 419, that's a regular practice, by the way, on third floor and in neighborhood services, could easily be changed with a $5,000 line of credit. It's city code, the magic codes are 140 and 150. Thirdly is a copy of where it is, and the judge signed the next one. Granted, you're granted a wish. You can either have fair housing, I got a heck of a model you guys could go with, or we can continue not having fair housing in Janesville. That's up to the city council. But right now, there's tons of people getting discriminated against, and it's not a secret. I mean, maybe the city council is less aware of how big of a not-secret it is in Janesville. It's pretty much not a secret that we don't have fair housing in Janesville. That's why we have lots of city parks owned by lots of used-to-be homeowners.
Thank you, Ty.
Andrea Breyermoon.
Andrea Breyermoon, 339 South Locust Street. I just want to ask you to imagine that you're a homeowner and your house needs a new roof. And maybe your son from out of town doesn't know what the ordinances are here, so he goes down to City Hall and says, I'm here to get a permit to put a new roof on my mom's house. Well, you don't need a permit to replace a roof. So you get the roof tore off and replaced, but in the process of doing that, a code inspector shows up and says, you know what, in this neighborhood, we don't honor the grandfather clause, and you need a permit to pound a nail into the side of your house because it changes the load-bearing capacity of the building. So you get down there, and I will tell them that you have to have a permit. So you go down to get the permit, and they say, well, we're not going to give you a permit. We're not going to allow you to have a permit. Or, in Mary Elle's case, okay, here's your permit. Now we get to do an inspection. We're going to inspect from the basement to the attic. And anything that's not code compliant with new construction code criteria, we're going to list that, and you're going to have to repair that. So your windows aren't the right R factor. Your windows upstairs are too close to the floor, yada, yada. Okay, so she does all of these repairs. And then she's told that she spent more than she should, and or that the zoning has been changed, and or whatever. But she gets a notice from the city that says, these are 10 items we want you to fix, and if you don't fix them, it's going to be $500 per day per item. That's $5,000 per day. The average homeowner does the math. That's $150,000 at the end of the month. You know, and your house is worth $80,000. You know, what do most homeowners do? They throw up their hands and bail. Who's going to take on the city? They just lost their house somehow. They go on antidepressants. You might find with this 10 items that you're supposed to repair that you don't need a permit for, but now you do, but they won't give it to you, that there's been a Liz pendants put on your house by the city employees at the courthouse. Now you can't borrow against your house to hire a contractor and or a lawyer, and you can't sell your home to someone else to recoup. Then there's the compliance agreement. So they might say, oh, we'll have mercy on you. You sign this paper that says, we get to tell you every and all aspects of the house that you have to change or modify or repair or update or renovate. We get to keep adding to this list. And you've only got 12 months from the day you sign it. And if we had something the day before, sucks to be you. And we have the final say as to whether it passes or not. And there's no appeal process. And if and when it's not approved and you can't pull it off and you run out of money, which you will, then you have to tear it down or let us tear it down, and you can't sue us, sign here. Like, I mean, do you know anyone in their right mind that would sign that? Okay, so there's actually a neighborhood plan that says, we trust that the citizens of this neighborhood will donate their homes out of civic pride and for the tax write-off for the better improvement of our neighborhood because they happen to be in the path of redevelopment. Ow. Okay, probably not in the fourth ward. You get a notice that says your home is blighted and or structurally unsound, unfit for habitation, yada, yada. Blight means not so lucky you are in the path of redevelopment. Now, if you were at the big boys, you're going to get twice fair market value for your home, and you're going to get relocation costs, and it's just going to be a given. But when you're not one of the big boys, then you lose your home. So 20 to 25 people per year under this practice for the last 30 years have lost their home, and Ty Bolarud is going to be next. Please put a stop to this. 30 years. And his case number is 18 for 2018, CV for civil, 207. And everything I shared, there are documents and examples, and we've been collecting this for 15 years. So please take a look, and if you want a copy, I can bring you the stack. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thanks, great. Next city manager update, Mr. Freite.
Good evening, council members, ladies and gentlemen. Some things to update the community on. First of all, this past Monday, the Janesville transit system officially switched to bus stop only service. And the intent there is to increase safety and efficiency and improve communication with riders. However, between last Monday and August 4th, if there's someone that's not standing at an official bus stop, they will be picked up. But after August 4th, then you have to be at a bus stop to be picked up. And so, effective August 6th. So just wanted everybody to know that. That's currently in place, and August 6th, that becomes official. So boarding and dropping off at bus stop only. Something that the police department continues to do, it's a great way to engage the community, is to host these small group neighborhood outings. They did their last one over on the 150 block of Locust Street, and you know, a great turnout, 75 folks from the community and that surrounding neighborhood, but an opportunity to play some games, have some food, and interact with the police department and see the police department perhaps in a different light than sometimes we see portrayed on TV or certainly in the national media. So kudos to our police department for doing that. Next thing is home improvement program changes. One of the things that the city offers is a 0% interest deferred loans up to 10% of the home's equity. That's city-wide, but there's a couple stipulation. You've got to be classified as low income, you've got to be 55 years or older, and you've got to be, the house has to be constructed before 1978. So if anybody is interested in one of those home improvement loans, they can contact our Housing Services Division. Kelly Mack is in the back, but 755-3065 for any details. And then the last item is, as the community knows, we tried a little experiment for a period of about 30-plus days with some back-end angled parking on West Milwaukee Street between Jackson and Franklin Streets. You know, we've done our experiment, we've gathered our data, and frankly, the data supports not continuing the experiment and not pursuing that as a way to provide parking in our city. And so next week, we will essentially sandblast off the old, or the current markings, and then restripe it as front-end angled parking, and away we go. But wanted the community to know that. A lot of the comments that came in were negative. That's generally the case in a survey, but you know, we heard enough of them, and you know, we certainly listened to those comments. And then also the 3 business owners that are on that stretch of block, you know, were concerned that drivers were choosing not to park in front of their stores because of that back-end angled parking, a fear to park, a fear to back in, et cetera. And so they were concerned that they were seeing a decreased amount of foot traffic coming into their stores, and with decreased foot traffic, a potentially decreased revenue stream. And so, you know, not necessarily the path that we want to follow trying to revitalize the downtown. So we're just going to call it a wash at this point, restripe it, and move on. And so wanted the community to know that. Something else that gets used, but frankly could be used a whole lot more, and I would encourage the community to give this a shot. But if you go to our website /service request, there's an amazing amount of things that if you see something wrong in the city, or you're looking for something to be done in the city, you know, you can go on there and you know, find out information, but more importantly, you know, submit a work order, a ticket, if you will. One of my favorites is the pothole. If you've got a pothole out on your city street, you can go online, click on potholes, give them you know, the street or the nearest intersection, and typically within about 72 hours, unless something crazy is going on in the city, operations is going to be out there filling in that pothole. And so I encourage folks to visit our website /service requests, code enforcement, customer service issues. If you see graffiti out in the city, please check that out. It's a great way to very easily submit a work order or a complaint for the city to act upon. And so I encourage you to do that. Some upcoming events, July 10th, which is tomorrow evening, down at the Roth Pavilion from 7 to 8:30. We've got the group Sacred Agent playing, so come down and enjoy that. July 12th, we've got Kids Noontime Entertainment. David Landau is going to be at the Camden Stage in Palmer Park from 12:30 to 1:30. And then next Tuesday evening, July 17th, again at the Roth Pavilion, is our Main Street Entertainment Series, and this group is called Drum Rave. And so come check it out between 7 and 8:30 p.m. July 20th, Recreation Division hosts Movies in the Park. That's at Optimus Park beginning at dusk, and the movie on July 20th is Coco. July 26th, Northeast Regional Trail Extension Community Engagement Forum. That's the second one that we've had on that. That's at Harmony School from 5 to 6 p.m. And then on August 3rd, something we're all anxiously anticipating is the opportunity to reoccupy council chambers in the 4th floor of City Hall. And so there will be a rededication ceremony in the council chambers from 3 to 4:30 p.m. We're working hard to get one of the original members of the council that was present 50 years ago when they dedicated the new city hall as a whole to come say a few words in addition to Council President Markline speaking. And so we're excited about that opportunity to cut the ribbon on that very nice new facility for the community and certainly for the council. As always, I encourage folks to stay connected with the City of Janesville. Park Place Views, our award-winning community information program. This month, it features Chief Banker from the Fire Department. You can view it on JATV channel 994, which is the charter channel, or on JATV's YouTube site. You can sign up to receive email blasts of information. So you give us your email address, we'll push the information to you. You can call us at the city, 755-3000, or city manager's office, 755-3177. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, receive emergency updates via Nixle from the JPD. If you scan the QR code there, it'll take you to that email list sign-up sheet, and then you can always go to our website. Lots of great information there. Pending any questions, that's all I have this evening.
Any questions, City Manager? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Items number 6 to 11 will pass under consent unless a council member brings them up. I'll read through them first, and we'll see where it leads. City Council meeting minutes. A, our closed session meeting of May 29, 2018 for approval only, not release. Our regular meeting of June 25, 2018. Our closed session meeting of June 25, 2018 for approval only, not release. And our special meeting of June 27, 2018. Item number 7, consideration and action on a proposed resolution in commendation of Mark Pierre Agostini for his more than 25 years of service to the City of Janesville. Final resolution number 2018-1557. Consideration and action to repeal Council Policy Statement number 19 relating to children's rides, license, and permits. Number 9, consideration and action on a proposed resolution authorizing the sale of property located at 1309 South Terrace Street. That's file resolution number 2018-1553. Number 10, consideration and action on a proposed resolution authorizing a lease with the Janesville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau for the operation of a portion of Palmer Park East Pavilion. That's file resolution number 2018-1555. And number 11, consideration and action on a proposed resolution authorizing the acceptance of a donation of a pavilion at the Palmer Park Tennis Courts, and that's file resolution number 2018-1561. And they will all pass under consent.
I have one.
Except?
Number 9.
Number 11.
Okay. So consent items number 6, 7, 8, and 10 pass under consent. Item number 9, Mr. Paul Williams.
I would move to adopt file resolution number 2018-1553, authorizing the city manager to proceed with the sale of the property located at 1309 South Terrace Street to Peter and Savannah Tracy in the amount of $70,000.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Williams, second by Councilmember Jorgensen. Councilmember
I
Williams.
just wanted to bring this off the consent agenda. I think anytime that we're selling city-owned property, that feel it should be done in the open and not just for the consent agenda. But mainly I wanted to give city employees that attaboy for getting this kind of a price out of that property. It's $70,000, and it appears that we're going to net $44,000. The property will then be put back on the tax roll, plus this money will then go back into the fund. So just wanted to give a good job on that. And don't need a presentation, but Kelly did a good job and wanted to say thanks.
Good. Councilmember Jorgensen, anything? Anyone else? Got a motion and a second to approve file resolution number 2018-1553, sale of property at 1309 South Terrace Street. Once again, hands up would be in favor of the motion, which is to approve. And that passes unanimously. And then item number 11, consideration and action on a proposed resolution authorizing the acceptance of a donation of a pavilion at the Palmer Park Tennis Courts.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions, Cullen. First of all, I think it's great that we've got citizens that come forward and make these kinds of things happen for our community. But it talks about an endowment being established, and I'm just wondering if you know any of the details about who's going to hold that endowment? How much they're thinking about raising for an endowment to maintain it?
Good evening, Colin Slapeback, Parks Director. I don't know what the endowment is right now, but what they hope to do is have future maintenance costs come out of the endowment. And they also want to try to revive tennis in the Janesville area, so also hosting tournaments, holding tournaments, so enough money to also do those types of events and pay for that at with the endowment.
Okay, so we don't really know what they're thinking.
I don't know.
All right.
We could set a price if we wanted to.
Well, I'm just, do you have any kind of idea of what it will cost to maintain? Have you had those conversations with them?
Our conversations with the design was that we wanted very little future maintenance.
Right.
So that's what they used as their design. Obviously, there's going to be some maintenance involved in 10, 20, 30 years, but I'm confident that this group will be able to handle those maintenance costs.
Okay, thanks. With that, I will move approval of file resolution number 2018-1561.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Conley, seconded by Councilmember Gruber. Anything else, Councilmember Conley?
I would just encourage the Parks Department to work with them to make sure that endowment gets set up and that it's adequate for the needs that it'll have going forward.
Councilmember Gruber? Anyone else? Got a motion to approve file resolution number 2018-1555. Councilmember Conley, seconded by Councilmember Gruber. Hands up would be approval of the motion to approve. And that passes, I believe I see all hands up, passes unanimously with all council members in favor. Thank you very much. Next one, we'll welcome Christine Rebout, Executive Director of the Janesville Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, giving a mid-year update.
Thank you for the opportunity to present and provide that mid-year update. I will provide some of those basic statistics in that update, but I also want to take this opportunity to dive deeper into one subject or one project we've been working on, and that is our brand revitalization. And I apologize because a couple of you have heard this presentation. I know, Sue, you have heard it, and Tom, you've heard it as I've been on the road to service clubs and other groups. But I thought it was really important for you as a group to really hear that update and what we've been working on. So again, I'll start with just a quick overview. I always like to start and talk about our mission as an organization, and that is to lead, support, and promote the tourism industry, thereby creating a positive economic impact and improving that quality of life for our citizens. We like to say what's good for the visitor is also good for the resident. We look at our makeup. We are an independent nonprofit 501c6 corporation. We do operate under a contract with the City of Janesville. We are funded by room tax, and that's the same model used throughout the country. Our program of work includes trade show attendance, advertising, both electronic and online, and print materials, social media, Facebook, Twitter. We operate a visitor center in Palmer Park, and thank you for renewing the lease for that facility. We saw about 1,300 people stop at that facility in 2017 when we were open mid-May through mid-September. We operate our website and our 800 number, our events calendar. We also operate a special events marketing grant fund utilized by events like the Tour of America's Dairyland, the Arbor Ridge Trail Race, are some recipients this year. Looking at numbers, if we look at 2017 and look a little bit about Rock County and the tourism impact we saw there, visitors to Rock County spent over $244 million, and that was an increase of over 4% of 2016. We saw total business sales linked to tourism spending was just under $400 million, and that also was up almost 4%. And tourism generated $29 million in taxes and other fees for state and local government. We also saw of Wisconsin's 72 counties, Rock County ranks 12th in tourism spending, which we're pretty excited about to maintain that ranking in Wisconsin. We also, when we talk specifically about what we do as an organization, in 2017 we provided direct services to 78 different meetings, conferences, or sporting events, and that totaled over 194,000 attendees. 13,000 room nights for our local hotels, and an economic impact of over 12 million. And all of these statistics, if anybody wants to dive deeper, please come in. We'll gladly show you a little bit about what we do, who we work with, how we do that, and we're glad to share that information. Our visitor center, again, we saw over 1,300 people from 38 states and 5 countries stopping for information. Our numbers there have declined a little bit over time as people begin to use apps and other resources, but we do still find there are people who need to take a break from driving, and they're eager to come in and get that information. Our website, again, we had 252,000 page views in 2017, 104 sessions, and over 75,000 users to that site. Our social media is very active. We had over 10,000 followers on our Facebook page in 2017 at the end of the year, and we are about to approach that 11,000 mark. If we get 30 more, so if a few of the people in the room all add on, we'll hit that 11,000 mark for our followers. Again, that's just a brief update, but now I do want to dive a little bit into this branding process that we've worked through. Again, we've spent about 18 months on the process of really looking at Janesville, who we are, and how we want to be known throughout the community. When we talk about brand, I think it's important to really define what we're saying when we talk about a community brand. And for us, that Janesville brand is really that valued promise of what people can expect when they come to our community and spend time and money here in the community. Talk about why should we bother with branding? Why is it important? I think it's important because it differentiates us from other cities. It allows us to be more competitive. I like to compare it to using a resume when you go into your job. You have that piece of paper, it's black and white, and it lists all of your statistics. When you come in to do the interview, you meet the person. You find the personality, you find the character, you find the color and the emotion that's with it. And a brand really proves to be that for a community. And it's really just part of that strategic toolkit for us. When we went to do the process, a lot of people said, well, can't you just do this yourselves? Can't you sit in a room and talk about what makes us unique? Or isn't there someone locally who can really do this for us? We wanted to really take this job seriously, and we wanted to work with someone who had done this before, someone who specialized in brand development. Went through an RFP process, came down to 3 candidates, and we did land with Bill Baker of Total Destination Marketing. Again, he came highly recommended by some of my peers. He worked with Oshkosh, which is now Event City. He's also working with Eagan, Minnesota, and if you're familiar with that community, they're about to be home to the Vikings, so they have quite a bit of branding work to do as they move through that. So we did choose Bill Baker to do that process, and he was with us for that 18 months and longer. We still consult with him now on projects. We also wanted to bring the community in. This wasn't meant to be really our brand, but really be a reflection of the community. So it was important for us to have a lot of community groups represented. We built this brand advisory board with representation from Downtown Janesville Incorporated with Maddie Adams. Forward Janesville was represented with Dan Cunningham. We had Maggie with the city. Mark Freitag was also there, and Doug Markline joined us. We had Mary Fitzsimons, who was with the Holiday Inn Express at that time. Mary Fanning Penny, representing the nonprofits and the United Way. Myself, our marketing director, Mike Reuter, was with the Historical Society at the time and served as our board chair. We brought Oakley Ryan in to really add, again, that nonprofit feel to things, and Dana Sarver, who was with the economic development with the city, because we feel this is an important component of economic development. So that group really stayed with us in those 18 months and helped us really develop that brand. The first step was really to do that assessment and audit of our community, and that included desk research, so really sitting at the computer and starting to Google and look for things about the Janesville community. We also did site inspections, so we wouldn't know they were coming. There was no chance to make things prettier. They literally just came into the community and did those site inspections. We did a brand retreat late in 2015. We also did community surveys, and these went out through Forward Janesville's newsletter, through our newsletter, and they were a link on the city's website. Got about 212 surveys back of our local residents. We did one-on-one interviews with many of you in the room. We did, again, some evening workshops and 10 phone interviews with what we called external people. They might be elected officials who were out in Washington. They might be travel writers. So we did some external phone interviews. And then the most interesting component for me was consumer research. We looked at the Rockford, Illinois market and asked them really, what do you think of Janesville? We dive deeper into that research and what we did in Rockford, Illinois. We looked at what we call our competitive set, and those were people in the region who were near to us and similar enough. We didn't want to compare ourselves to a Milwaukee or a Madison because they're simply too different. So we built a competitive set of Beloit, Lake Geneva, Dubuque, and Racine. We asked them questions like, how do you rate Janesville or these communities for family fun, convenience, parks and gardens, bikes and trails? We asked that set of questions. We kind of knew Lake Geneva might be that strong leader in the marketplace, But what was interesting, they pulled ahead in some areas where we felt we really truly were stronger, parks and gardens, for example. But it was really, again, about perception of what people thought about those communities. We also asked those Rockford residents about Janesville as a place to live, a place to work, and a place to start a small business. What was interesting is while we didn't have a lot of negative or very negative comments, we saw a lot of neutrality or they didn't know. And that to me was okay, because those are people where we can convince them, we can sway them and educate them really about what we have to offer. And seeing that neutral or don't know is actually better than seeing a lot of negative or very negative comments. And again, these were online surveys of Rockford, Illinois, people 18 plus, and we got about 345 completed responses. We took all of those things and really put them in that funnel and said, let's pull this all together and see what shifts out to the bottom. And from that, we really came forward with that brand of Janesville outdoor fun and Wisconsin's great outside. We looked and saw our inventory, and we saw that so many of the things that we did were based on the outside. So we came up with the idea that day and night, summer and winter, Janesville's parks, trails, and river are the backdrop for excitement and fun. Whether it's a concert, a dinner under the stars, hiking, biking, sledding, fishing, golfing, playing tennis, cross-country skiing, it's easy to see why we've been known as Wisconsin's Park Place. We really had everything there was to do for outdoor fun right in our own backyard. We looked also at inventory, and this was a really overwhelming process. We looked at everything that there was to do in the Janesville community and how did it group together, and that really strengthened that idea of outside activity. It was where our strengths fell. We also looked at reasons to believe, and this is what I like to call, if somebody says, prove it, this is how we answer that question. Prove that you really are Wisconsin's great outside. We looked at the things that we can boast or brag about. Again, having been known as Wisconsin's Park Place, 2,500 acres of parks, 64 improved parks, 30 miles of trails, botanical gardens, the Rock Aqua Jays, our inventory of historic homes, Camden Playground, our Greenbelt, the work the Rock County Historical Society is doing on their campus, the redevelopment of the town square. All of those were things that we could really say to use and prove that we are Wisconsin's great outside. We also want to talk about emotional benefits, and a lot of people say, well, how can a city make you feel something? And the example that I like to use is if I say to you, Wisconsin Dells, what do you feel? And for me, I might feel a little bit energized, but a little bit tense, because you're going to think about kids running and splashing in the water. You're going to think about something loud and colorful and exciting, and you kind of get that more tensed up feeling. If I talk about Lake Geneva, you have a very different feeling or experience. You are more relaxed. You think about art, culture, fine dining, things you might not think about in Wisconsin Dells. When we talked about the emotional benefits people want to feel in Janesville, we wanted to come up with words like exhilaration, fun, achievement and success, togetherness, enrichment and discovery, and relaxation and escape. Those were things we felt people should feel when they come to our community. We then went on to logo development. And again, there are those that think, can't you just draw a picture? Isn't that how that works? And unfortunately, it's not that easy. And this was a really hard part of the process for me. But we wanted a logo that would really capture Janesville's brand, something that was fresh and clean, very modern looking, welcoming and friendly, and really fit well with what we were trying to accomplish. So then we took a study of our tree, and the original tree that we've affectionately called the squiggle tree that has been with us for probably 30 years, and it served us incredibly well in that time. And we didn't want to move away from that. We didn't want to put a boat or a fish or something else in there. We really just wanted to add that polish, finesse, do a little haircut, put a little new makeup on, do a makeover for that tree. So we moved forward into streamlining that, came forward with concept 2, and many of us in the room felt, well, that's just not quite it, and moved forward to concept 3, which allowed us a little more streamline and added a water effect to it. We then again took those out to the Rockford market, surveyed them, surveyed our group, and that's really where we fell. But for me, I didn't really love it until I saw it in use. And when we put it forward, moved it into our logo and into that full branding work, that's when I really started to feel that that tree was the right place for us to be. Our next steps really were incorporating it and building it into what we do. So those, again, were our primary brand logos that we have moved forward with. And then we talked too about brand keywords. So when we're writing copy, when we're talking to people, when we're having conversations in our appointments at trade shows, what words do we want to use to think about the Janesville community? And these were really the things that came forward when we wanted to describe Janesville. We also went forward updating all of our photography and copy. And you'll see here it's all local photography, taking of people enjoying Janesville and enjoying being outside, done by local photographers. We overhauled our website, new look and feel, completely new skin. We overhauled our social media pages, our digital newsletter, our blog, and went on to overhaul all of our advertising in print. A lot of people think, oh, with this new branding, you know, it's very wasteful. You're getting rid of everything you do, and that's not the case at all for us. Nothing landed in the dumpster behind Old Town Mall. I invite you to check us on that. We really just drew that line in the sand and said everything moving forward is going to have this new look and feel. So we were able to do that in an efficient way that worked well for us. We also are in the process of getting final placement decisions for new gateway signing for the city of Janesville, and these are the designs that we have moved forward for that process. And those will include that new logo. And then there's great potential for moving forward, things that could become street banners, vehicles, all sorts of opportunities depending on how we move forward with that brand. So that is a very quick and brief overview, but I gladly answer questions or set up times to talk in person with people.
Any questions of Christine? I just had one. How was the I-90, I-39 reconstruction? Are we anticipating the effect for 2018?
As far as visitation for us, I think it does have a little bit of an impact on leisure travel. Again, it doesn't necessarily impact our ability to bring sporting groups and meeting groups, but we actually do see some additional visitation at our visitor center, for example, when there is construction or a backup, because people are looking for that alternative, and quite often Janesville's that first place to get off. And as somebody who travels that Highway 14 West route every day after work, when it is closed, people are hopping off of I-90 and taking that 14 detour. So, you know, in some ways it may hurt us, but I think there are those times when people are going to stop in Janesville when they may not have originally. We are continuing our third year of our I-90 campaign, so we're putting about $15,000 into advertising very specifically to stop in Janesville despite the construction. And that campaign, again, includes geofencing, so the minute you drive over the border, you're going to get those ads popping in on your phone and your electronic devices, and a lot of other components, billboards, placement in the Beloit Travel Center. So we're continuing to try to combat as best we can.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I just have one question. You're aware, Christine, you know, that Aqua Jays is a very important activity in our city. Can you describe, I know there's been the shows have been prevented because of the wake and all that. Where are we on that? Do you expect Aqua Jays to still have a successful season, even because of that one problem? So
We were disappointed that Mercury Marine was canceled because that for us is off-season rooms, and that is a nice opportunity. So, you know, there'll be some minimal loss from that event, but they are skiing now. We were there last night filming with the Discover Wisconsin crew, and I was thrilled to see that the bleachers were completely full. They were parked out onto Main Street. It was full of people, and again, we're including them in our next episode of Discover Wisconsin. They think the water's moving in the right direction. I talked last night with you know, Tim Cullen and others. They're all set for nationals and for the rest of the year.
very good, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you so much for the update.
You're welcome.
Old business, second reading, public hearing and action on a proposed ordinance rezoning property located at 483 and 485 North Walnut Street from B2 to R2, file ordinance number 2018-722.
Ordinance number 2018-722, an ordinance changing the zoning classification of 483 to 485 North Walnut Street from B2 Community Shopping District to R2 Limited General Residence District, with a penalty and injunctive relief for violation thereof as set forth in section 18.28.010 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Janesville.
Thank you. And Brian Schweigel here to present.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Brian Schweigel, Associate Planner. This request was submitted by the owner of 483 and 485 North Walnut Street to rezone the property from B2 Community Shopping District to R2 Limited General Residence District. The site is located within a pocket of B2 zone property surrounded by a larger low-density residential neighborhood. The subject property appears to have been used simultaneously for residential and commercial purposes generally since its construction in 1938. The two-story residential portion of the structure is on the left side of the photograph on the screen, and the single-story commercial portion is on the right. The property owner would like to convert the commercial space within the building to a second residential unit, and the proposed rezoning is necessary in order for that to occur. On June 18th, the Plan Commission reviewed the rezoning request and voted to forward it to the council with a favorable recommendation. The Plan Commission also approved a conditional use permit to allow the proposed residential duplex. Staff believe that the proposed rezoning is appropriate, as described in the staff report, and the city recommends that following a public hearing, the City Council adopt file ordinance number 2018-722 as proposed in order to rezone the subject property and facilitate its conversion to a residential duplex. I'd be happy to answer any questions
Any
that you have
questions
for me.
of staff? This is the final hurdle, except for getting permits to go forward with this, right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone here wishing to speak on this is welcome to step forward and give your name and address.
Good evening, Jolynn Burden, 2642 North Wuthering Hills Drive, but I am also the Director of Community Engagement for Arise Now. And so I am here tonight in regards to the naming rights in the town square area.
That's the next one.
Oh,
Excellent.
I gotta wait.
Yeah, one more.
One more.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. Anyone else? Second call? Third call? We'll close the public hearing. What is the wishes of the council? Councilmember Conley?
I'll move approval of file ordinance number 2018-722.
Second.
He had his hand up. I don't know, it was a tie. Give it to Mr. Gruber this time. I missed him when he had his hand up. Motion by Councilmember Conley, seconded by Councilmember Gruber to approve. Any comment?
No.
Councilmember Gruber? Anyone else? Seeing none, we have a motion to approve. Please vote. Hands up or approval, and that motion passes. Good luck with your project. Final hurdle, except for permits. All right. New business. Public hearing and action on a proposed resolution naming privately funded town square improvements in recognition of the project owners. And Paul Woodward is here to present.
I don't really have a formal presentation tonight, just before we open public hearing. Our partnership with Ford Janesville is going well, and you'll hear soon from Jolynn about that. Each of the three items were over $100,000, so there's no waiting period. It's not needed. So we're looking for the naming of the West Side Pavilion as J.P. Cullen Memorial Pavilion. The pedestrian bridge is the Blaine Gilbertson Family Heritage Bridge, and the East Side Pavilion is Cope Ryan Pavilion. So after the public hearing, staff would recommend approval.
Okay. So the public hearing is open. There's your cue.
My apologies on that. Again, Jolynn Burden, Director of Community Engagement with Arise Now. And so just here to, as Paul mentioned, we have three families that have been great partners in the Arise Now project. And certainly you've all driven downtown, been a part of it, seen great things happening. You heard about the bike race earlier. I mean, wins for Janesville. This is a win for our public-private partnerships when we've got individuals that not only are investing into our community financially, but are investing their passion, their commitments, really leaving their legacy here in town. And so we've got three of them, one being the West Bank, which is the J.P. Cullen Memorial Pavilion by the Cullen family, and the pavilion on the East Bank, which is the Cope Ryan Pavilion, which will be planned for construction in 2019, and that is from Jim and Sherry Cope and from Oakley and Tobin Ryan. And then our pedestrian bridge, which is Jane Blaine Gilbertson and Michael Mick Gilbertson for the Blaine Gilbertson Family Heritage Bridge, constructed in 2019. So again, we are thrilled and privileged to have these type of people, families, part of our community, really stepping up and being a part of seeing this journey move forward for everybody in our community. And so I just wanted to thank the council for backing the Arise project and the Arise Now continued things that we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak on the public hearing? Third call? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And what is the wishes of the council? Councilmember Gruber.
I would move approval of file resolution number 2018-1562.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Gruber, second by Councilmember Conley. Any comments?
Nice step forward
Okay.
in what's been a great planning venture that has really created some significant material results. It's been a real pleasure working with the Rise Now Committee on moving this project forward.
Okay. Councilmember Conley?
No, nothing further.
Anyone else? Seeing none, please vote. Once again, hands up would be in favor of the motion. And that passes unanimously with all council members voting yes. So congratulations to everyone involved with this. Next item, first reading and schedule a public hearing on a proposed ordinance amending Chapter 15.01.280 of the Code of General Ordinances regarding pool requirements. File ordinance number 2018-727.
Ordinance number 2018-727, an ordinance amending and creating new requirements for swimming pools with penalties for violation thereof, as set forth in JGO 15.80.110.
And we will schedule that public hearing for July 23rd, 2018. Common Council announcements? Seeing none, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Councilmember Gruber and Williams, please vote. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for coming.